Hey, this is Rob Lake, and you are listening to The Art of Kindness.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to The Art of Kindness, where we have compassionate conversations with artists from all areas of the entertainment industry who are using their voice to spread joy and make this big spinning planet in the universe a better place to be. I'm Robert Peterpaul, and I'm so glad you're here. Rob, hello.
Hey there.
How are ya?
I am so excited to do this today. This is what I've been looking forward to so much.
Yay! Me too.
So I'm a fan. When this was set up, I was so excited, so I'm just ready to go on in.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. And I feel like we met at America's Got Talent and we kind of just like stayed in touch over the years, but we've never had any kind of dialogue like this. So I'm so excited. I'm pumped to chat with you on all things the Muppets, Broadway, magic. Just thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for the opportunity. I've been looking forward to this for a while now.
Oh, Rob, me too. You know, with all that's going on in the world, everyone, listeners, we're just going to bask in magic and Muppet sunshine with dear Rob right here.
And kindness.
And kindness, which I kind of think kindness is magic.
Perfect. Could not be said any better yet. It is.
Yeah. Well, you know, just to start, you grew up in Oklahoma. I don't need to tell you that. I am tempted to just sing Oklahoma, but I'll spare everybody today. So
better you than me.
We could try it. So from, growing up there until now, Rob, I wonder, just to start, what does kindness mean to you, and how do you think your definition has evolved over the years?
I That's a really great question, and it's not, at first I had an instinct reaction, like an answer, but then I had to think about it. I will say my family raised me understanding the importance of kindness from very early on, and always
Mm.
being kind, the golden rule. And I think even now it's driven all of my professional and personal and creative decisions too, as such a foundation. And so I
Mm.
don't think it's changed as much. I think it's an understanding. I think kindness is respect of yourself and others. It's empathy. It's compassion. It's doing the right thing. It's integrity. There's so much to it. It's so simple, but it doesn't feel like just a simple answer is sufficient. It's foundational. It really is.
Mm.
And I've always, this crazy business of show that we're in. I could go on for many podcast episodes of all the horror stories of managers taking money and
Yeah.
and screwing this over or that happened, or this my equipment getting locked overseas, and all sorts of stuff. We could, but that's and I think why things like that hit so hard is I would always say I can't imagine someone doing that kind of stuff, because how could you sleep at night?
Mm.
How is that? How is it some people just don't have that feeling for others? And it's even also self-kindness is probably the most important kind of kindness that's needed. If you can't love and
Mm.
respect and treat yourself well, how could you do that? So,
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to it's the foundation. It's the foundation of why we're all here, is to
Yeah.
be kind and to share kindness and to help.
I love that. It's kind of the dirt and the grass and the flowers and everything can grow from it, to have
Mhm.
a clunky metaphor. But one thing I appreciate about you, and I think that is part of your kindness, if I may say, is that you seem to be very intentional about everything you do, from your shows to how you run your business and your crew and everything that comes with it. And I think intentionality is part of kindness, right?
Oh,
Because you're putting
definitely.
the thought in.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to the foundation of it.
Yeah.
You want to have the foundation of just being a good person. That's kindness. You want to have foundation of doing, like I am the author of everything in my show. I've designed the sets, the lights. I mean, my thumbprint is on all of it, and it's all coming out of
Mm.
my mind. But that's from the intention, and that's the kindness to yourself. Like, I owe it to myself and my audience to do the very best possible, and to not settle for something substandard. So that's also an act of
Mm.
kindness. It's, those days when, I've had the shows where I've been, had the flu or worse, and, there's the proverbial bucket on the side of the stage in the wing that you run off, throw up, and come back on stage.
Yeah.
But that's an act of kindness, obviously not to myself at that point, but to the audience who has been, their time is so precious and they're giving it to me. And so the
Mm.
kind thing to do is that. So I think it's really foundational. And then I think being intentional helps you stay on track.
Yeah, I love that. And I do think what you do is such an act of kindness for people. You bring people so much joy and curiosity and wonder, which we're going to unpack today. And like I said before, I do think kindness is magic, Robin. And I wonder for you, was there one act of kindness that you feel like magically altered your trajectory and set you on this path?
That's really hard. I've been doing this kind of professionally since I was a kid. As a kid, I was doing
Yeah.
birthday party shows and magic shows. And I think probably, a couple things. The first opportunities I had to perform were charity events, fundraisers, festivals, and people just want you to do it for free because they're putting on an event and
Mm,
just need it. So I grew up early on being part of these organizations where there's the call to action and fundraising and understanding the passionate stories that go with these events where people talk about it. So I think I was exposed to that soon, but I also realized early on the power I could use my magic for good.
mm.
And I would my
Should we sing
schedule
Wicked
unfortunately.
now? No, sorry.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
won't
there
go
yeah,
into the
exactly,
Wicked of
exactly.
it.
The Broadway tie-in, yeah, it's all yeah. No, I would go perform for veterans hospitals and shelters and children's hospitals, and just to bring magic to people. And I performed my show overseas for 15 or 16 years for the troops and their families of our military all over the world in very
Mm,
isolated, locations. And then I do benefit shows. I'm a softie for animals, and I do fundraiser benefit shows for animal rescue groups.
yeah.
I wish I could adopt and save them all, and I fortunately, it breaks my heart I can't. So,
Yeah.
but I can do benefit shows that raise the funds to keep these organizations going to do their work.
Thank you for doing that. And
Yeah.
I think it gives back to you too, right? I mean, when you have audience filled with people that you're sort of trying to give a glimmer of hope to or joy
Mhm.
or be the sunshine of their week, their month, potentially their year, I'm sure that must make you feel good, even on those tired days when you're just running
Yeah,
around and doing so much.
absolutely. And I close my show every night, every show. I thank the audience for being there, and it sounds scripted, but it's from the heart. I say, you all could have been anywhere in the entire world, but you've been here tonight. You've given me your time. You chose to spend your time with me, and I don't want to take
Mm,
that for granted. So I really am nothing but grateful for the audience for giving me their time and allowing me to live my dreams and my passions and perform for them.
that's very Carol Burnett of you, I'll
Well,
say.
thank you.
Thanks for having this time together. And thank you everybody listening for sharing your time with us right now. On that note, I'm
Yes,
very
yes.
grateful as well. So you've dubbed your idols as people who create wonder, which I just
Hmm.
think is so cool, including Walt Disney and Jim Henson, who we're going to get into, of course. As now a wonder creator yourself, I just wonder overall, how does kindness play a role in what you do? We touched on it a little bit, but are there tangible ways you feel like kindness has come into your work?
Yeah, I always wanted magic to be uplifting and inspiring and full of wonder. And obviously, there's kind of some magic is dark and mysterious and weird, and that's great for them, but it's not my style. It's not my entertainment. And I don't no one wants to be like tricks. It's you like if I say, "Look, I got your wallet," you'd be like, "That's cool, but
I've
give
been
it
looking
back to
for
me."
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's not a good feeling. Your reaction is to look for it. It's not a good feeling. So,
Yeah.
I want magic to be inspiring. I want
Mm,
magic to be uplifting. I want it to be an overwhelming sense of wonder and joy. And so, even the harshest critic and skeptic, even for a second, they feel this emotion, this
mm.
let go, and the inspiration that maybe, just maybe, anything is possible.
I love
And
that.
that's the gift. That's why I love magic. That's why I love the theater. That's what I love to do. And my gift to the audience is that.
It's like the de-Scrooge moment. It's sort of like the moment when Scrooge embraces Christmas wonder in the classic tale. It's like that one little moment must be
Mhm.
so satisfying. And on that same note, in this kind of go, go, go world where there's unfortunately a lot of the opposite, how do you think listeners can look for more wonder in their own life? So how do you think people out there can find wonder just in this world?
Great question, and I think about this stuff, and I'll start first to creators, to all the creative types. Now more than ever, you have to create. We need the wonder, we need the hope, we need the enjoyment more than ever. We need to know why we're fighting for what we're fighting for, or why we're doing what we're doing. We need this to support and uplift and keep everyone going forward. It's a tough world right now.
Mm,
It's rough, tough, scary. No matter where you are on your beliefs, you can see that and agree to that. So from a creative point of view, now's the time creators are needed more than ever to uplift and help us. And I
Mm.
think for an audience, now is a time for connection. Now
Yeah.
is a time for community. Get off of our phones. Quit scrolling. That's, I mean, just time yourself how much doom scrolling you do and how does, I mean, we need the dopamine hits. I get it. But that's what it is. We are
Yeah.
wasting away, and I limit my time on social media and scrolling because it's soul draining.
Mm.
And I crave connections. I go to theaters or Disney parks to be inspired and reinvigorated. And there's nothing like it. There's nothing like being in a theater, experiencing something with your senses that's not just on a device you're scrolling through,
Mm.
and experience it collectively. There's a study, I think it was, I want to say they did Dreamgirls in London. They gave heart rate monitors to people in the
Yes.
audience, and their
Yep.
hearts were beating simultaneously. It's in sync.
Mm.
Where else besides theater can that happen? I
Yeah.
mean, you're in a room with thousands of people, and in my show, there's just enough glow where I can see people's faces. And not only are they reacting with their jaws on the floor and like how, but they're making sure everyone else around them saw it. It's a collective
Mm-hmm.
experience.
Mm.
And I think we're losing that. We're losing the opportunity where we have shared experiences and shared community and shared connection and can share kindness.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there. And I love shows like yours, especially because people leave feeling that wonder. And even if it lasts for 5 to 10 minutes on the, sidewalk out or longer, they interact with each other and they're like, did you see that
Mhm.
trick? Or, everyone kind of leaves almost in a childlike state, which is so
Yeah, it's
special.
euphoric,
Yeah.
even as a kindness to themselves, they allow themselves.
Mm.
It's a big thing. And even myself, I have to remind myself to pause and enjoy. Just from everything around the world. Plus, I'm just so busy.
Yeah.
Right now I'm busier than I've ever been in my
Oh,
life, as
I'm
you can
sure.
imagine. But
Yeah.
I've had to pause and say, "This is happening. I'm experiencing this. It's great." And that's an act of self-kindness. And that's, when you see something with your own eyes and your own senses in my show, there's no explanation.
Mm.
And you have no choice but to surrender to enjoy it. It
Yeah.
overwhelms you. And that's one of the gifts of kindness I share with them. And it's their own kind gift to themselves to let them experience and enjoy that.
Yeah, it's so cool. And it's something that I loved about working on America's Got Talent. And I feel like, from what I remember, Rob, you were one of those contestants who really seemed, and you were certainly already successful before you came on the show, but you seemed to navigate the reality producing of it all rather well, if that makes sense. Like
Almost
you
too
just,
well, to be honest. I
well,
didn't
no,
have drama or and
no, you seem to stay true to yourself, and I
yeah, and
just
just
wonder
on that,
where
there
that
was
came
another
from.
magician on my season, and they kept trying to make this conflict between us in the storyline. I wouldn't give into it. They're trying to
Mm.
say your magic is better this way. It's like, and I was like, I would be, I would not. I was very Michelle Obama. I would not go low when they wanted to. Like
Yeah.
I was, I was like, there's different types of magic, and I think magic's great. So the fact that people are watching magic is great. I would spin their question into a true statement that was intentional for me.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't play into drama or saying I don't like this person or they're not any. It's like life's too short. Life's too short
Yeah.
to do that. And it's just, and I have so much respect for people who follow their passions and their dreams
Hmm.
that we don't need to do that. And it's just like, and same on AGT. I think all those shows at the beginning, American Idol, the shows, they got the clickbait from being mean. Simon started as a jerk. He was known for being
Mm-hmm.
just a terrible, awful thing.
Yeah.
When the cameras roll, as a good character.
Yeah.
But they soon realized, and you could speak much more to this than I would, from my perception, from my understanding. They soon realized that getting really good acts that are just wow you and amaze you got a lot more
Mm-hmm.
clicks than Simon being mean.
Yes, I think you're so right. And it's similar to the journey of social media. It's the
Mhm.
authentic story, the authentic storytelling of you, finding out what people connect with and then sort of doing it on purpose every time in a different way that's essentially this model for a successful business, right? It's like you find what works and then you do it in new and exciting ways. And I think you're correct there in that they quickly realized like the storytelling aspect and the human emotions are
And
what
even just the
really
really good talents.
connected.
Even just the
Yes.
really, even the really good talents of the acrobats and the performers who just you just watch again and again, like, and you share
Yeah.
those. Yeah.
And it is so story driven too, right? Lindsay Sterling is supposed to come on
Mhm.
here. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yeah, I
her, who was
remember. Yeah, yeah.
also on AGT, and it's an AGT season, I guess.
Oh,
And
fun.
it's just very interesting to me how that world has kind of like evolved a bit, and I think it's a wonderful.
Well, I think it shows that show's massive. It's one of the most watched shows on the globe and all the versions of
Yeah.
it. But I think it shows what the audience craves. I think they're going off the science. They probably have some of the best social media data in the world and YouTube data in the
Hmm.
world. And I think they know what people are watching and sharing and clicking is the stuff that uplifts you.
Yeah.
I think that's my opinion.
Especially now. Yeah. I think
No,
you're right on the
especially
money.
now.
It's why sort of Netflix, the top movies are all sort of cheesy, Hallmarky,
The
very
tearjerker
romantic
stuff is the
things.
feel good happy tears. That's what people
Yeah.
want. People are craving that.
Yeah. But I think to the point of view on AGT, I feel like what you do is such an act of self-kindness, the way you seem to trust your gut and just
Mhm.
unabashedly stick to your own, I don't want to say guns, 'cause that's kind of a weird phrase, but
No, but it's intuition. Intuition, yeah.
yeah, I guess, do you have any advice on that? Because I think a lot of people struggle with that, especially when there's something
Yeah.
shiny in their, peripheral, like AGT or fame or money or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I think you're right. A lot of people think intuition is something like a gift or psychic ability or something. We all have it. It's your gut instinct. So whenever you say, "Oh, I knew better," or "I knew that was going to happen," or
Mm,
here's Carolyn Mace, who I think is the one of the best teachers on this stuff and intuition. Um, she said, if you were, if I said, tell me your 10 happiest moments, what are they? Sometimes it's really hard to think of those things.
hmm.
But if I said, tell me your 10 biggest regrets, you'd say 10 is not enough. And the reason
Yeah.
is when you have a regret, it's because your intuition told you so and you did it anyways. And
Mm,
that's what makes it a regret. That's what makes it stick with you because you knew better and you betrayed yourself on some level.
mm,
And so when people say, I don't have intuition, it's like you just aren't used to listening to it as much as it is. So, but I think you always know best. And I read something
yeah.
recently where people were saying the new kindness, discussion is all about being selfish and being mean to others. No, 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 that's not at all.
Mm-mm.
You have to take care of yourself. It's like putting your oxygen mask on yourself on the airplane first.
Yeah.
If you're drained yourself, you can't help others. If you're not kind to yourself, you can't be kind to others.
Yeah.
That's the proper kind of selfishness that you need and just healthy. But I think your intuition, if you really listen to it, it would say, eat that, not that.
Mm,
Or don't say that to that person. You don't need to dig onto them and you say it anyways. Those are the intuitive things when you
yeah.
know better and you betray, because at that point you're betraying yourself on the deepest
Mm,
levels. And that's why you know better. So everyone does that. I think everyone can just pause for a second and think, what's the kind answer? The Rotary Club, which I grew up doing shows with, and high school Rotary, president, and the four-way test. Is it the
mm,
truth? Is it fair to everyone else? Is it beneficial? Like every organization of service and civility and even religion, kindness.
mm.
So it's not a lack of information or education.
Yeah.
It's just from lack of being intentional and honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And being honest, like, you shouldn't eat that. I need to walk up the stairs to the elevator. It's like, those are the honest things. That's your intuition telling you and guiding you. And even myself, I'm still learning. I had to say last night, pause for a second. You need to enjoy this moment.
Mm,
A few months ago, I had just been so busy, so exhausted, saying no to myself to do work for other people and other projects I was too busy for and said yes to anyways.
yeah.
And I got really out of shape. I got really out of shape. And a few months ago, I looked at myself and said, what are we doing? We
Mm,
know better,
yeah.
and in months, I got back in shape and I feel amazing now. I'm happy again. I was sacrificing things I was loving to be able to do other projects and things I didn't even want to do in the first place, but I had agreed to.
Yeah, it's that course correction, I feel
Mhm.
like. And I mean, what are those things that keep you in shape? Like, what are you drawn to in that regard? Because speaking of
So yeah, and
self-kindness.
so and yeah, yeah, and it's been the last few years been just nonstop exhausting. Too many
Hmm.
shows, too much travel. I designed illusions for some Broadway shows and other productions, and I was just overstacking my schedule every which way. And in order to do it, I was taking the hit. And so I have had to remind myself of things I love. And
Mm.
one of the things I love, I'm a runner. I love running. I love swimming. I love doing triathlons.
Yeah.
I have to, I was like, I haven't had time for this.
Mm.
And I miss this. I love this. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things. And I was being so exhausted and busy, I didn't have enough time to even sleep. So it's like I had to
Mm.
make time for myself to be healthy and to
Yeah.
move. I had to make time. I love to cook and I love to eat healthy and I love these things. And I had been just grabbing and going because I had no chance. And I
Mm.
had to really course correct, fix these things. And I love reading. I love
Yeah.
really good movies. I love going to the theater. And I love going to Disney parks to recharge. So I
Mm,
I I
so
had to
nice.
schedule things to do that could help me realign with who I am, and that act of kindness has been so needed. And
Yeah.
I got back in shape. I'm healthy. I ran the Broadway Mile last week with the Broadway
Oh, that's
community
awesome.
as a
Oh my
fundraiser,
gosh.
and it's great, and I'm happier again, and I'm able to take that and fuel my shows and my other products even more.
And I love that that's where you ended that because I think a lot of us can forget that actually taking the time to do the things that refuel us and recenter us, it's not taking the time away to do our to-do list. It's actually refueling us to have the energy to go back and like tackle that to-do list in a better way. Maybe that's a faster way, maybe that's just a more engaging, authentic way. But
Mhm.
if you don't have those times of like coming back to yourself, A, it's like, what is this all for? And B, you're going to get burnt out. So
Yeah.
it's a great reminder. And especially from someone like you who travels all over the world. And it makes me wonder in that regard, Rob, have you seen certain parts of the world to be kinder than others? Is there
Mhm.
like
Oh,
a
yeah, definitely.
ways people show kindness that stick out to you? Yeah,
Yeah.
internationally.
Yeah, it's gonna be no surprise, and this is not a diss, I don't wanna get any, hate mail for this. We're
I have a
not the
soundboard.
kindest.
I'm gonna play.
Yeah.
No, I'll play some booze. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We're not the kindest country in the world. I don't think anyone would be surprised by that. And kindness, you can measure in politeness, courtesy, communication, caring for our neighbors, supporting our
Mm,
neighbors. A lot of Europe is a lot more compassionate to one another and others. Japan, one of the first places I got to perform. I spent a lot of time in Japan. They're some of the most polite people in the world.
mm.
Um, and there's a lot to be learned from that. And every time I travel there, I love being on that high of it's more communal, it's more communicative, it's more empathetic, it's more supportive. And I love that. So whenever I come home, it's great. You can kind of ride that wave and share it more and more. It's contagious.
Yeah. It is. Well, there's actually science behind that. Kindness literally is contagious. There's research and science behind that. It's not just a home goods pillow, although I'll certainly buy it and put it on my couch. I think it's an important point to remember is that it does spread and it comes back to you. And New York City specifically, I think, has its own kind of unique kindness that maybe
Mhm.
isn't as fluffy in its appearance. But the
No.
second something happens, New Yorkers are always there for each other. And we are so pumped to have you in New York on Broadway this holiday season with special guests, the Muppets.
Oh, you heard?
I've heard, and I'm pumped. I'm like shooting with joy through the roof for you. I know, first of all, you said Broadway has always been the dream, and you've worked on Broadway shows, but I think this is your first time physically on Broadway. So, how does it feel to have this coming true?
It hasn't even hit, to be totally honest. Part of me is
Yeah.
like, of course it's happening because I've been dreaming of this and planning this from as long as I can remember. So part of me is it's just so natural that it's happening like that. And the other part of me is it's really happening. Wow, this is really a thing. This is really happening. So I think it will hit at some point too. I think part of being so busy now, taking care of myself still, but being so busy now is I haven't had time just to sit and think and realize, oh, this is happening.
Yeah. Well, it's happening, and I can't wait to see it. You know, you've worked on some of the world's biggest stages, but how have you, speaking of intentionality, how have you intentionally gone about planning for Broadway audiences specifically? What makes Broadway different?
Even though the stages are smaller here than other places,
Yeah.
in the visibility, it's the biggest stage in the world. And intentionality, I've had the intention to do this my whole life, my whole career. So everything I've designed in my show is highly theatrical. Everything I've designed in my show was so that whenever I got to play Broadway, I would be ready.
Hmm.
Some of my friends have described the show as a Disney Broadway musical sized magic show. So yeah, I am adding elements and of course the Muppets to Broadway, but most of the show is my favorite illusions I performed all around the world.
Wow. I can't wait to see it. And we have to talk about the Muppets in the room. I mean, we've got to conjure them up for just a
Mhm.
second here
Of
because
course.
not only has Broadway been your dream, but seeing the Muppets on Broadway has been a lot of people's dream. So, what can fans of the Muppets expect?
Yeah.
Including me. I am a Muppet, but I'm excited to see the real ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all grew up with them. They are our heroes. And speaking of what perfect examples of kind that we learned, like Kermit
Yeah.
Jim Henson and Kermit embody kindness. And that's, I think, why he's so loved. Um, so first of all, it's not the Muppet Show. It's not the Muppet Christmas Carol. They are guest stars in the show. I don't want anyone to come in and be disappointed or misled. It's not that at all. And that's not my intention at all. They are joining me for a segment in my show to perform magic with me. And I'm trying not to do any spoilers
Okay, I get
here
it.
on specifics, but you can't. My show is like what my journey through magic is and what magic is to me.
Hmm.
And it's really hard to tell my story without talking about my childhood and my inspirations. And you can't do that without talking about Walt Disney and Jim Henson and the Muppets. And it just felt natural. And so we asked, and I never in a million years thought they'd say sure or be interested. And we just said, hey, we're doing this Broadway thing coming up. And would you guys want to do a cameo and be part of the show and help me out in the show? And they said yes.
Look at that.
So it was, and I mean, I had to give presentations, and I've done the design work for Disney, so I've done Imagineering, for the parks. I've done Disney theatrical stuff,
So
so I
cool.
had an in the door, and I was already, so it wasn't just like some person showing up and knocking on, the door in California saying, "Hey, can I have the Muppets?"
Yeah.
Um,
But sometimes it's a little harder to ask when you know, yeah, when you
but
know the people. Sometimes it can be a little harder to be, not that it's always vulnerable, but I think it can be tough to kind of like
yeah,
ask those questions. And it's such a cool lesson and just do it because you really never know.
no, no, I mean, the worst you can get is a no, and honestly, I fully expected they'd say, "Yeah, no, we don't do that, Disney." It's like because they don't.
Hmm.
And so I had to do storyboards and pitch them and give, outlines. And then we've the show's done. We've built it and rehearsed it and teched it. And it was the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, having the Muppets in my warehouse,
Hmm.
in my illusions, and keeping it cool and not, letting the tears flow because you're literally having a conversation with Kermit the Frog.
That is wild. And I mean, the way they protect that whole magic is
Yeah.
so admirable too. I mean, they came on a talk show I worked on a few years back, and same thing. I left my body. Like we cleared the studio, we came back in, and then the Muppets are just there live waiting to do the thing. And you're like, oh my God, it's the Muppets. So what was it like working with the Muppets? Like, take me through the first
Part
time you
of it,
met the Muppets.
yeah. Part of it I grew up with him, so it felt so normal, like, well, yeah, of course, Kermit's real, why wouldn't you talk to him? Part of it felt
Yeah.
like that, and the other part was, like, I'm actually having a conversation with Kermit, and he's made a video to say hi to my nieces for me, and, like, literally, it's it's the I have not and I know, I want all the Muppet fans and theater fans to know I understand how special and unique this position I'm in is, and
Mm,
I know the gravity of being able to be this conduit to bring the Muppets here and perform with them and have them in the show, and I don't take that lightly or for granted,
mm,
and I know the reverence that deserves, and I hold that very closely, because I know how much the Muppets mean to all of us, symbolically and
mm,
emotionally and nostalgically, and I hold that so high to the highest standards of making sure that I take care of how I use them in the show, and also have that respect that everyone knows how cherished they are and that they're,
mm.
in a good place that works with them. But Muppets and magic, why not?
I mean, the two M's, M&M's, M&M's. Maybe M&M should sponsor the show. I mean, honestly, that's why you're the perfect person for this job. And I don't even use the word perfect lightly because I don't believe in perfection. But in an ideal sense, I'm so excited that it's you. And we lost, the Muppet Show in Disney World recently, and so we need them
Yeah.
back in a theater as well. What have you learned specifically about working kind of on the inside with the Jim Henson company? Like, what's
Yeah,
your
yeah. So the
takeaways?
Muppet Studio is now under Disney, and it's in Disney
Mm,
Imagineering. And I was such a entertainment nerd, geek, obsessed kid. My favorite TV shows were the movie magic or behind the scenes or the Disney Channel features on new attractions. So
mm,
I think I already had an understanding of how they would need to work or function or do. So it was really one of the coolest things for me. We had when we first brought the Muppet team in to test out these illusions about a year ago. One of the puppet technicians had been working for the Hensons since the 1980s, and
wow.
he'd said the team had said when they saw the stuff that Jim would have loved this.
Mm,
And so for me, we made adjustments like move this, do this, change this around. But overall, we had planned so well that the adjustments or modifications were very minute, and we had a really good understanding and planning going in. So I think that's just from, my growing up studying and watching and learning, and, it's part of filed away my brain, and I just, so I knew kind of a basis of what to do for that.
yeah.
Um, it was they did ship the Muppets. There were packages that came from Muppet Studios. Let me think of how I should technically say it officially. That there were a few days before they arrived, and they were sealed and taped, and I had to keep them locked. So I was like, and I was
Wow.
not allowed to open them, and that was so hard to not open these.
I'm
Whatever, I
sure.
don't know what was in the boxes. I'm not saying that, but
True.
yeah, can't say that.
That's special. Well,
But it
maybe
was.
you can't say this either, but have you always had a favorite Muppet? Not to play favorites
Yeah,
because they're kind of
I would
a
say
unit. But
Kermit, of course, because he's so relatable, and even when even back on the AGT days when they have you fill all the personality questionnaires and stuff, and it's like, what's a celebrity or famous person you identify with or are relatable to, and I think I put Kermit the Frog on that on my
Hmm.
and that was how many years ago, so I've always said that, but I've also just loved Ralph as
Hmm.
well, and I don't know
Yeah,
why, he's just fun, and I as a kid those were my two favorites, are Ralph and Kermit.
I love that. Well, speaking of fun, we're going to tap into your inner child right now with a
Great.
round of Muppet superlatives. This is going to be a little flash round that I made up. I'm going to throw out a superlative, and you, Rob, tell me the Muppet that deserves the
Oh gosh, I'm
title.
gonna be so embarrassed if I don't nail this. Okay.
No, it's honestly up to you based on your experience working with the
Yeah.
Muppets. Okay, here we go. Most likely to give you a compliment.
Oh, okay, okay.
It'll be very kindness related.
Oh, I like that. Most likely to give me a compliment. Well, I mean, Kermit, he's just the leader. He's always supportive and he's always uplifting people. So definitely Kermit.
Okay, this might be Kermit too, but most likely to give you advice on a trick. Although I didn't
Oh,
say good
Gonzo.
advice.
I think Gonzo. I don't think it would be advice. It'd be opinion and dictating. I think Gonzo would be the first one to tell me how it should be done his way.
I think you're right. You probably shoot out of a cannon and be like, just
Yeah.
done this way. Most likely to cheer up the cast backstage.
Well, Miss Piggy, her presence just elevates everyone. But I think, the whole gang, any of them just showing up, it just a smile arrives when you see any of them. But, Piggy would insist that everyone uplifts and smiles when she's there.
That's true. We got to stop on the Piggy of it all for a second because is she just running amok as a diva backstage? What's going on with Miss Piggy? I need the tea on Miss Piggy.
I will say she's one of the biggest divas in the world, as she should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say she's a very, very special deity, even maybe.
I think you're correct there. I love
Yeah,
Miss Piggy.
yeah.
Okay. Well, what about most likely to surprise you with something totally wild and weird?
Oh gosh, wouldn't that be? That's Muppets in general.
That's probably most of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I might be. I think he's a weirdo by definition. So he's, and he's always surprising. You never know what he's gonna come up with or say.
I love that. Most likely to hog the spotlight in the middle of an illusion. I can maybe guess.
Well, obviously Piggy,
Yeah,
but
I was thinking
also
Piggy.
I think Fozzie would love to get it, or
Ah!
even again, yeah, even Gonzo would try to. He would be trying to figure out a way, not like in a malicious way, but he would see the spotlight and just know it was for him.
So, okay, if this was the Muppet Show, then I'm thinking too, like we would see the franticness backstage before it
Mhm.
starts. Who would be most likely to help calm your nerves before opening, before going out there?
I would go to Rolf because number one, he's just so chill anyways. You don't ever see
Hmm.
him riled up. And then number two, I think I would just go back to this nostalgia and I'm just such a dog person.
Oh, I love that. And well, speaking of riled up, this wasn't one I had, but most likely to be riled up might be what, like Beaker. There could be a couple of them that are probably
Oh, yeah,
riled
yeah.
up backstage.
Yeah. Scooter, he's always, trying to get things together. Even Kermit, gets, frantic
Yes.
as things fall apart. He's the glue holding together and has to, scream and fight to get it done. So
Okay, and lastly, most likely to ask you to saw them in half and really mean it.
I think all of them. Let me think who, I think Animal probably would not want to do that, but I think almost everyone else would be down for it. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm just, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Muppets or Disney, but there might be some guide, but I can see Animal would probably be like, nah, I don't need to do that, or he wouldn't understand the purpose, but the others probably would be very eager to volunteer.
Yay, you win. And I'm going to give you the superlative of being the most likely to rock a show with the Muppets as a special guest. Can't wait to see it. Is there something that you think would surprise people about working with the Muppets on a show?
The realism.
Hmm.
There's some great clips of, Jim Henson, like on Johnny Carson, with, their, and just the realism, even if you see the performer with him, you don't. You don't even. It's not even like you're consciously trying to force. Like it's just you give in to the illusion so quickly. And because it's the Muppets, that realism is compounded by the nostalgia
Hmm.
and the connection we grew up with. and it just opens all of those doors and all of those emotions immediately, and it's exciting and it's thrilling and it's really special, and
Yeah.
it's an honor to get to have them part of the show.
I feel like it's the anecdote to what we need now. We need you and the
We
Muppets.
really need magic and wonder and Muppets so bad right now, and
Yeah.
kindness.
And kindness, magic and wonder and Muppets and kindness. Oh my. As the leader of this show and of course of your company and everything you do, what are tangible ways you found of leading with kindness over the years? That's something you think about. I know you do lead with kindness. I've heard you talk about it in other interviews, which was really fun when researching you. So I wonder if you have like tangible ways you could share of kind leadership.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, you've got to you've got to have empathy and understanding. And I
Mm,
would think for me, the easiest way is to approach things with gratitude. I have a really great team who've been with me for many, many years, and they don't have to do that. They're here because they choose to be. And I ask a lot of them. I push everyone. We're pushing the creative envelopes. We're pushing the workload envelopes. We're achieving the impossible. We're inventing illusions with no roadmap and
mm,
tons of trial and error and starting over. And show business is chaotic, and we're traveling around the world, and we're no we're missing, in show business we don't do weekends or weddings or birthdays or holidays. That's, it's just the nature. So I approach things first with gratitude
mm.
and appreciation that these people are willing to give parts of their time in their life to helping my passion, my dream.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that they're recognized and uplifted. Just like we said before, if you're not full yourself, how can you contribute the best? So if they're not at that
Yeah.
level of on a personal level, and I want to make sure that means that personally they're okay, they're healthy, they're happy, everything's fine, they're not, they're in a good spot, and I want to make sure they're taken care of, and know that I'm fully aware that they have my back and my life in their hands for the show and the operations, and I need them to know it's a two-way street, that I
Mm,
have their backs too. So it's that gratitude, it's the reciprocation, and it's the understanding that I might be the show leader, but they do all the work and I get the credit. And
yeah.
it takes the people to make the magic happen. And I
Mm,
think as long as people feel recognized and understood and supported, that's the biggest part of it, and it's genuine. It's not just saying this or,
yeah.
a fruitcake for the holidays as a gift box or something. It's like, you have to live it and mean it, and we do,
Yeah.
we're around the world, and so I make sure, they know how valued and appreciated, and oftentimes, just saying thank you is the biggest thing,
Mm, yeah.
and that's, it's not a financial thing. It doesn't have to mean like you have to, of course, everyone will take more money, but as a business, you just sometimes have a limit.
Yeah.
And but making people feel appreciated
Mm.
and supported is so kind. It allows them to feel vulnerable and allows them to work hard and push through it all.
I think so. And I love what you just said. It takes the people to make the magic. That was a really cool pull quote that I'm going to sticky tack to my brain. And I think you're correct. It makes me wonder. We touched on this a little bit earlier. You mentioned, having managers early on that maybe weren't working with your best interest. What about as a leader when these moments come up that are super challenging? How do you
Mhm.
kind of navigate those with kindness, the difficult conversations?
So keep going back to childhood. Walt Disney, Jim Henson. My book reports growing, my school reports all the time growing up were in the same loop. Walt Disney, Jim Henson, and Will Rogers, even but still,
Yeah,
that
we
was
were
my
very
obsession.
similar, actually. Yeah.
So one of the things I learned as a kid, there was no real theme park before Disneyland. It was, amusement parks, carnivals, and that whole concept of that was Disney's.
Hmm.
And as he was trying to explain that to his investors, his brother, and even his wife, they would say, they had no visual concept for what he was imagining. And they'd say, carnivals are so filthy and they're dangerous and they're dirty and they're, list all the problems. Why would you want to do that? And he would just respond, mine won't be.
Hmm.
And so as a middle school teenager, I started realizing the less than pleasant side of show business and even of magicians. And so I didn't want to lose sight that I love this. I'm passionate about it. I have a vision, I have a plan and an intention. So I printed out really big a sign that I put in my bedroom that said mine won't be. So
Hmm.
that anytime some of these other things would happen, I would have a place to recenter, say, it doesn't have to be that way. That's how they can do their life and their business. I won't be.
Hmm.
So so that guided me a lot. But even it's you still get lessons, and I think the lessons repeat until you learn them. Even this summer, um, I had someone who I felt very um, betrayed by because they just started doing I felt very close to them and just was really was taking advantage of my
Mm.
kindness, and I had to separate. First of all, it was devastating to feel that way because you've someone you supported and been so gracious to, and had this great thing, and then all of a sudden had things happen in their life, and they're just a different person now. And I felt guilty about that for a while,
Mm.
and it took my inner circle of friends to say that it wasn't that, and I owed it to myself to be kind to myself and say you can't fix that for them.
Mm.
You can only keep the integrity of who you are and what you do, and not let this and also step up for your professional integrity to do the right thing here.
Yeah.
And that was a hard the lessons still keep coming, and the
Yeah.
more you ignore them, the harder they get. But it was you had coming back to you have to prioritize your integrity, your kindness, and if me trying to weasel and a backflip explanation in my mind of what was happening, it's like you have to be honesty is kindness.
Yeah.
And
Honestly.
you have to be honest with what the situation is. And you have to be
Mm.
honest that this person has lost their integrity and is doing things that are not right and good, and you can't save them from that. And that was kind
Yeah.
of and that's a hard thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it was an honest thing and a vulnerable thing.
Yeah.
And and at some point you just have to it was like I couldn't let the integrity of my show and myself suffer by trying to neglect or ignore or look the other way or do all these things. I just I couldn't. So
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I went through something similarly recently, and I think people say kindness, and it's almost like you can't be associated with something going wrong or sharing your truth or talking about something like this, but that's not true kindness to me. Kindness to me is what you kind of just said. It's being honest, being authentic to yourself, and things are going to happen to you every day. And it's sort of like
mhm.
how you navigate that and get through it. So I appreciate you sharing that, and
Yeah,
I
it's
think it's a
not
great way
easy,
to lead.
especially with as a friend who someone who worked with me as a friend and a worker for me for years.
Yeah.
And it was sad, it was tough, and it was like it was hard to see, but it's not the thing is, there are things you be kind about it. It's like you don't take it personal.
Hmm.
It's not like they're sitting around with the voodoo doll plotting against you, just who they've become, what they're doing. It's not, it's like they would
Yeah.
have done this to anyone. It's not like they're just, just you. So it's like you have
Yeah.
to find the kind things you do to help you get through it. But
Mm.
if you can't stand up for your work and yourself and who you are, it doesn't mean you attack or you just say, I'm done.
Yeah.
Just walking away is kindness.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the kind things you do, on a different note, Rob, what are some of the
Mhm.
things you're going to do to treat yourself with kindness? I'm going to remind you to hopefully do this while you're in the midst of a Broadway run, which is incredibly taxing physically,
Yes,
mentally.
yes, yes, there is. So the biggest thing of kindness is me doing the show to the fullest of my ability, every show, every day. That's really exciting for me.
Hmm.
And I will be on a good, healthy schedule and regimen for fitness and healthy eating, plenty of sleep, plenty of sleep. And then one thing I
It's
just
hard.
really realized in the last few months, as part of I was recovering and getting myself back, saying no. And this is a
Hmm.
big thing for kindness, and it's not a negative thing. I had to say no to so many people who wanted to come visit me or check me out or be visit the show or go on the road with me. And I said, I can't. I don't have time for entertaining or house guests or I
Yeah.
have enough time to do the show, give it my all, and then go sleep. And
Hmm.
so learning how to and to say, I will look forward to catching up with you, overcorrecting, but for right now, this calls for discipline. The discipline of an elite athlete is what I've been. And so it's for me, the kindness is tuning out and passing things that because I would if I had my certain friends, I would feel like, yeah, I'll come here. I would be killing myself to be the best host ever.
Hmm.
And I said I just don't have the energy for that, and it would not be fair for them or for me. So I've got to schedule my social time, so I can still be human
Yeah.
and enjoy it. But I also just have had to say no. This is my focus, and this takes discipline, and that's
Hmm.
okay.
And that's
And
on
that's okay.
boundaries.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly. So that's a big thing I've been working on lately too, is that part of the kindness.
I'm glad. That's smart because you're going to be technically hosting hundreds of thousands of people every
Yeah.
day, every week. With this Broadway
Yeah.
show, you are essentially hosting. And I mean, I wonder, as a host with the most, is there something you hope people walk away feeling? Just to kind of come full circle, we talked about that wonder at the top of the show, but when you look out there at the audience after you complete this show with the Muppets, what is your intention and your hope?
Yeah, I think it comes back to I want everyone to have that wonder, the joy, the
Mm,
inspiration, the feeling that anything is possible, and then I want them to take it out into the world and share it. I want it to be spread through actions of, invisible acts of kindness to strangers, even just a smile, a nod, you never know. One of my favorite books on kindness was Carolyn Mace, I think Invisible Acts of Power, Invisible Acts of Kindness, but
mm,
basically just the hidden, um, you never know what a random act of kindness will do. A smile, a tip, an encouragement.
yeah.
And it's the best act of kindness are the ones you give without expecting anything in return.
Hmm.
And I hope people feel so happy and joyful from my show that becomes second nature. And I hope that that wave rides as long as they can after the show.
I hope so too, and I'm sure it will. And this kind of leads perfectly into how we end every episode, which is with a tangible kindness tip. You sort of just shared one, but I wonder, Rob, if there was one act of kindness you could magically spread throughout the world, what would it be? For everybody out there listening, if they could go out there and do something very specific today to magically spread kindness, what do you think they should do?
I would say trust your instincts. You owe it to yourself. And I think human nature is good.
Hmm.
I think a lot of the negative stuff comes from fear and negative decisions and negative emotions. I think if you listen to your true instincts, you are going to be led into a path that makes life kinder for you and for others.
Hmm.
And I think that's what it is. Like, follow the wonder of your intuition, follow the wonder of yourself
Ooh, I
and
love that.
see where it leads you.
I love that so much. I'm gonna like tattoo that to my head, Rob.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
We talked about yeah. Uh-oh. We talked about the intention and of following your intuition and listening. And I think magicians and illusionists, what you do, it's almost like a masterclass in that because you really have to be present in every moment or a trick could go very wrong
Hmm.
potentially. So I don't know. Do you have any advice as we close out as well on just staying present? I think that's really hard for people in this world where every second we distract ourselves, whether it's with our phone or, watching a TV show. What's your
Yeah.
advice on like
Yeah,
listening and being
I
present?
mean, yeah, we talked on it earlier. I said, the doom scrolling is all distractions, and it's distractions to avoid having to listen to yourself, to avoid having to be present, because it's tough out there, and I can see why we want to do it. I can see why. But yeah, my show is very. I mean, if things go wrong, we blow magic. I could get injured or worse. It could be very dangerous. My show is heavy stunts, and there's no stunt doubles. It's me doing it all. It's all
Hmm.
my life and in my own hands for the show. So I have to be fully aware of the audience, of the stage, of the technical stuff, of the lights. I have to be, clocking it all. And I think that only comes with the discipline of the training. So for other people to be more present, I think it's less about focus and more about removing the obstacles and the distractions that we're intentionally putting in our way to prevent it.
Hmm. I think it's a great way to put it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And that'll lead to maybe a better rainbow connection with all of us. Rob, I know you're going to kill it. I can't wait to see this show. Thank you for bringing joy to Broadway and just magic to all of our lives. It was such a pleasure to get to talk to you today.
I'm honored. Thank you so much. I've been listening to this podcast for so long, so I'm so excited I was able to
Rob,
do this. So thank you.
that means so much to me.
I have, and like part of my vision and ideas about coming to Broadway was hoping to get to be able to be on the show. So
Oh
thanks for
my
letting me.
goodness, that is so kind. Well, you're welcome back anytime, and hopefully I'll see you at the show.
Yeah,
And
please
and
let me know when you're coming. I can't wait to see you.
yeah, I would love that.
Well, that was an amazing conversation, but now I think it's time for us both to disappear.
Until next time, remember, everything is gonna be A-OK.